Welcome back for another Dane Buy Local feature, as we're going to tackle, again, current and important issues. And really glad today to be joined by a pair of important people from Sun Prairie, the Bank of Sun Prairie, because we're right in the thick of PPP loans. We have other things that are happening. People are still trying to get their businesses in order and making sure that they can fund and survive and all those great things that we're hoping for all of our local businesses. And the Bank of Sun Prairie has been a really helpful resource for so many in our area. So I'm welcoming Chris and Allison today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So Chris, we'll kind of get into a couple of points about the PPP program. Now, the first round, is that everything complete, all the filing deadlines, everything else done? And are we fully moved on to round two, or where do things stand at the moment?
That's an excellent question. We are both in phase one and phase two as we continue. So borrowers who have not applied yet, absolutely, they still can apply. And at the same time, borrowers who have done their first draw loans, have been forgiven or have at least applied for forgiveness, they're absolutely able to be into the second draw loan period now to submit applications and to continue to receive funding. Of course, they have to qualify if they're going to do the draw two loan, which is the 25% or greater revenue change. But absolutely perfect timing for folks, whether it's their first time or their second time, to be looking at this program.
And we know it's helped a lot of people, so far. There were some bumps in the road getting through it, like you would expect anything that's new and trying to get, so many people assistance. But what kind of things have we learned from that first round, you think? And what kind of things will be easier this time around for people?
The first time around, you had sort of the influx of COVID. You had a lot of things happening in workplaces. The SBA. Keep in mind, the SBA is one of the few government entities that is self-sustaining. So they pay their own bills. And so, of course, they run fairly lean, and they've been trying to get ready to handle such a large influx of new applications. And so they've really done an admirable job of doing that. And at the same time, I think we as lenders have gotten faster through this process too, right? So where this was very paper-based, what Bank of Sun Prairie has made an investment in is that you now can apply for either your first draw or your second draw loan using our website. You go right out there to bankofsunprairie.com. Directly on our lending page, you click, it takes you right into our online application portal. Where you fill out the information that's needed. It leads you, it's fairly user-friendly and leads folks through it. They can upload the needed, whether it's a tax return or a financial statement or some other items that they might need. And those are delivered electronically to the bank. There's a DocuSign for electronic signing. Really a fairly smooth process. We're seeing, 1 to 2 day turnarounds here from the SBA currently as far as decisioning loans. And then we as lenders are under a requirement to have these closed, documented, funded within 10 days. So really it's a nice turnaround program. And, especially here at Bank of Sun Prairie, I think we've done an excellent job. We have dedicated a significant amount of staff to processing PPP applications for our small business owners. And so we're seeing very quick turnarounds on these loans, which is excellent. I mean, these are business owners that employ real people here in Dane County. And so being able to help them through this process is great for everyone.
Getting people the funding, getting people the loans, crucially important. But there's also so much that goes into that, making sure they have access to those funds and the customers are served well. And Allison, I know on that front, you've been actively involved in making sure that customers can have access to these funds. So tell us a little bit about that process.
Yeah, so between the first and the second round for people, we've been opening up new deposit relationships for them. And to really make it easier for their accountants to show exactly how they're using those funds. And with the deposit relationships, we have a really nice online feature set up where they can view these accounts online, they can view the loans online, plus their accountants can view these accounts online. So it's made it very easy for all parties involved when it comes to getting the information back to the lender on how they spent the funds, that they have it right at their fingertips.
Chris, that was something too that was talked about a lot during this first round. People struggling going with bigger banks. And I know, the Bank of Sun Prairie has been a local bank for such a long time, involved in Dane Buy Local, really focuses on that. And you wanted to make sure that you guys were handling things the best you could and serving your customers. So tell us about that philosophy from the bank standpoint.
As we've talked about, we are a community bank in every sense of the word. We have our 4 locations here. They're all in Dane County. We're about a $490 million bank in terms of size of assets. And people might be more or further along the line of understanding where that slots us in terms of size. But from the beginning of the program, what we've really tried to focus on is that we're not just helping customers. We're also helping people that we hope will become customers, so I'll call them non-customers now. But what you hear a lot in the news about large companies and the effects they have on the economy. The fact is your small business owners still employ half of the working folks in the country, right? And so we've really tried to focus ourselves from a customer service perspective on the small business owner, and the PPP process has, I think, really been an opportunity for us to show our dedication in that arena. We've been turning applications from the beginning. Really after the first week, I think we were really on a next day turnaround with processing applications. Unfortunately, we've heard and we've all read the stories of some of our larger competitors, larger banks, larger credit unions, where unfortunately that wasn't the case. And so I think we continue to focus on that front and will continue to going forward. But I'm happy to say that we've had some very nice feedback from customers that have talked about working through this PPP process with the Bank of Sun Prairie is the reason that some of their employees continued to be employed through last summer. Many of those companies have rounded the corner and have come into 2021 with brighter outlooks, which has been personally very rewarding, as well as a good thing for our community.
Allison, when you had so many people to serve, and the process was taking place for so many, once the people got approved and they started getting access to the funds, what was the focus and transition to make that as easy as possible for them to access it online? Talk to us a little bit about that process and what you guys did there.
Sure. It was a crazy busy time around here to make sure everybody got set up. But, we didn't skip any quarters. We did it exactly how we would do it with everybody else. And what is nice is that we are a community bank. We can make some of these features nicer where people don't necessarily have to come into the bank. I think the convenience for a lot of people setting up these accounts was I could collect their information via secure email, and I could get the signature cards ready, the online banking agreements ready, and then send that to them via secure email and DocuSign. And for so many people, no matter where they were located, that was such a convenience factor to them, especially at the beginning of COVID and no one leaving their homes and houses and, the bank shutting its doors to really limit who's coming in. I still think we served them tremendously. And going back to Chris's comments, the amount of compliments that we received, the amount of new relationships we gained just from that personal touch. We're really hands-on with our clients. We want them to know that we're there for them, and whenever they need us, they can call us, email us, text us. And a lot of people have been really appreciative of that. And it was new to them. They weren't used to that hands-on approach. And I think that's where we really did well for a lot of these business owners.
Chris, going back to some specifics about the loans in the transition, I know there were opportunities then for people to utilize first round or first draw PPP customers, if the timing worked out, to utilize some of those funds in the process of applying for the second round PPP. That's a lot of banking terminology. Please make it understandable for us.
Sure, sure. The first draw, the first time around, what you really needed to substantiate was that you had payroll costs, and it depended on the structure of your business. Are you a sole proprietor? Are you an LLC? Are you a partnership? And so there were somewhat different ways of coming to the same result. But then your loan amount was based on 2.5 times of what your average monthly payroll was. And so as we've gone into the second draw of PPP loans, what also gets rolled into this process now is your eligibility is determined based on a revenue reduction. And so what you need to be prepared to be ready to show is either an annualized reduction in revenue, so 2019 to 2020, or to be able to show a by quarter change. And now I stress to people to really check their numbers and look at the quarterly change, because many of our business owners, and it's a very common story that we're hearing, that they might have rebounded mostly over the course of 2020, where they were still down a little bit, but they probably weren't down 25%. And so I have a number of owners that think they don't qualify. But I heavily encourage folks to go back to actually run the numbers and look at them in their profit and loss statements by quarter, because it's a very common story that second quarter was definitely off considerably. And then there was kind of some scrambling to make it up as you got towards the end of the year. So that is really the most important piece. What I would say for folks, especially as we've gone from first draw to second draw, the common small business Wisconsin story that I think there's a lot of folks who either there's almost a little bit of guilt, or there's almost they don't think of themselves in being business owners truly the way that they are. They haven't struggled enough, so they feel like they should leave the money for other folks. And I challenge that notion and really consider that your importance in the overall scheme of the economy here and what their continued operation generates, because it's a big circle where we're all connected, really. I tell people a bank is only as strong as its customers. And so we better be doing a good job of servicing our customers if we're going to continue to be a good bank. Those customers have to think of themselves in the same way and how they fit into that whole circle. The other one that I've taken 3 new applications this week from folks. Wisconsin is built on family farms, and I stress this point. The reality of a family farm these days is that usually mom is outside with a W-2 wage earning job. Many times dad has got a W-2 wage earning job as well. What do those folks do when they get home at the end of the day? They put on the other clothes and they go out to the barn, or they go out to whatever to do the work that they need to do to keep that farm that they operate still operating. Well, if you have a Schedule F inside your personal tax return, you are a business owner. You qualify for this program. I heavily encourage you to go out there to the Bank of Sun Prairie website, apply, submit your Schedule F, and we'd be happy to work with these folks to make sure that they get the funds that they need, especially in a day of reduced commodity prices and all the we could spend hours talking about the challenges that family farms face, right? But we can say that we have hopefully a nice win for them here in this program. So
that's really good news to hear, because it's such an important part of our makeup here in Wisconsin, but at the same time, really difficult and challenging business to operate in under regular circumstances, much less what's happening now. So I appreciate you putting that note out to them. Allison, I did want to ask you about that easy access for people to kind of get set up online. Now, I know your current conditions. Tell us a little bit about offices and bank locations are currently operating how? Anything open yet, or is it all online, or what are the processes for customers?
Sure. Customers can still come into the bank when they make an appointment. We have just shut our lobby doors down just for traffic coming in and out to try and keep the traffic in the lobby limited. But we are still meeting with clients inside the bank. We're still setting appointments with them. They can still meet us face to face if they want to meet us with masks, of course, being worn. Some of the bank is functioning from home and some people are functioning from work. I think we've really adapted to how we can function with people, and having remote access and being able to forward our phones and just really be there for the clients and really whatever the client is comfortable with in meeting with us.
That's good to know. Again, what you guys are all talking about is just putting your customers first and making it as comfortable as possible for them under these times. Chris, a little bit about the second round loan now, the deadline, has that changed? Is that kind of on the projection, the end of March, or where are things there? And is the money supply looking like it might run out? Can you give us an update there that you know about?
Yeah, great questions, Jason. Great questions. The deadline does remain the same that we've talked about. It is the end of March, continues to be the date. I've heard different projections as far as where we are in terms of drawing up the funds. I think it's very possible that the funds will make it to the deadline. But I guess what I'm stressing to people is that I think within the next 2 weeks, I would say by the middle of March, I think you definitely want to have your application submitted. Your small business owners, especially your sole proprietorships, they're not only the business owner, they're not only the person that sweeps out the shop at the end of the night, they're also the person that has to reconcile their checking accounts and do their taxes and all those things. So especially for the second draw loan, one of the very nice features that's been put into place is you don't have to substantiate your eligibility for the 25% revenue reduction until you apply for forgiveness. So you do have a little bit of time there. If you're basing your loan amount on just a Schedule C or a Schedule F, that's all you need to submit. And you can use either 2019 or 2020. So I stress to people, you certainly should have your 2019 Schedule C sitting there in a drawer or in a shoebox or hopefully someplace better than that where you keep it. But you should be ready to go if you're going to be under $150,000 for loan amount, which I think takes care of the lion's share of the applications and our small business owners. So don't use that to delay. We really like to see, would really frankly like to see as many of our small business owners get as much help as they can to continue to keep our communities here in Dane County vibrant.
Chris, you did say there's a lot more flexibility with that. And before we move on to one other thing, I wanted to bring that up because I think, I've talked to business owners in recent weeks here who weren't eligible for funding because they didn't open the business until 2020. They were looking for some assistance. It looks like some things are moving in the right direction there.
Yes, that's an excellent point. What's happened just through the passage of time, which is nice, and that's one of the other I should say, types of business situations where folks have struggled to apply for help in the program. But because the funding has been allocated again, because the calendar has physically moved here into 2021, now in order to apply for funds, you only have to have been in operation by February 15th of 2020. You can then apply for a PPP loan in one of two ways. You either average out your payroll for the months of January and February of 2020, or you do your actual 2020 payroll expense and average that out on a monthly basis over the course of the year. You really can apply in either way. But it's when folks finally make the leap, many times small businesses are started by folks that have functional knowledge in the area they're going into. It's the dream to go out and do this on their own. Unfortunately, a common story that we heard is that I was operating for like 3 months, COVID hit, and the world fell apart. What can I do? Well, you only have to have been in business for a little over 6 weeks of 2020, and you do qualify.
that'll be welcome news for a number of businesses who started out during and just before the pandemic, because that story is pretty common. Allison, I did want to ask you, you guys at the Bank of Sun Prairie, just kind of talking about the philosophy, you kind of have this motto that says, big bank products at community bank service or in community bank service. How do you pair that together? Because it seems like it's a little challenging in this world, but it seems like your bank has been able to kind of pair those things together.
Sure. I really think it just comes down to service. What a lot of people are pleasantly surprised with are the tools that we have to give them, whether it's processing payroll, ACH, the scanners, positive pay. We have all those at our fingertips and can offer it to them. I think what makes it a little bit different is when they get these products and services, there isn't a 1-800 number that they're calling for training. Actually, the trainer in those products and services is me. I've done a lot of video training or going to a business and showing the employees how to process the ACH, how to use the scanners, how to get into online banking. And that's a little bit different for people too. And I think where the comfort level comes in is they know they're not going to call anyone besides me to help them with this or their lender to help them with this. And for a lot of people, that's huge. I think we take a lot of pride in getting back to people right away. We know them, we know who their accountants are, we know who their CFOs are, we know who the players on the team are. And I think that makes a huge difference when someone's trying to call in and get help with something that they're not transferred all over the place, and they can really go to their banker and just get the help that they need.
Chris, when you look at what's happened with the loans and with the situation now, what are some of the more common things that people have maybe missed or needed or were unprepared for when they first reached out?
The number one issue I'm going to say is having your paperwork ready. In the one that's a little bit difficult is if you do have a number of employees, whether it's 2, 3, 5, and just being ready to produce payroll information in order to calculate your loan amount. Folks have needed help through that process, which we're certainly, ready and happy to give. But you have to physically hit the print button, whether it's out of QuickBooks or it's out of whether you just have a checking account that you maintain your payroll out of, something that we can tie to get you to the correct amount so that we make it as seamless a process for you as possible in going through the SBA and getting those things ready. Myself here at the Bank of Sun Prairie, along with our multiple lenders that we have, with Allison and our treasury management team, we're trying to be as proactive as we can. Unfortunately, there's only so many of us and so many hours in the day. That's really the purpose of why we've set up the website, for helping us to process the applications, because we have had significant volume and a lot of conversations with folks to help streamline that process, just so we can give faster, better responses to help lead people through that process. I hope what we can convey to folks is that if you're a small business owner and you need help with this process, if you hit our website, you go under business banking, there's the general contact numbers, but our business bankers all of us are on the website. Our contact information is out here, our email addresses, our phone numbers. You're not calling, pick your publicly traded institution, and you're going to a call center somewhere. As Allison said, I can see Allison is sitting at her desk at the bank, and so that's really what it looks like. That's she might have cleaned up some papers behind her, but we're real people sitting in our office in Sun Prairie. We travel. And we meet with people and talk to them daily. So hopefully we can alleviate some of those fears and help people work through this.
One other quick question. So you talked about 10 days to turn around the application for this. How quickly then do people have access to the funds?
From the time you've submitted the application, we are typically getting next day responses from SBA with an approval or whatever, but typically an approval. So you're going to know, I would say 24, 48 hours, you're going to know that you're approved. Then it's just a question of how quickly we can get any kind of closing documentation we might need from you. And when I say closing documentation, things like a copy of your driver's license, things like a copy of the articles of incorporation if you have an LLC, basic documentation like that we need to keep, the FDIC and everyone else happy with us. Once that information, while we're collecting that information, there's a hard 10-day time period limit where that loan has to fund. So SBA physically only gives us so long in order to get those funds out the door. And so we really want to do that process as fast as we can so that we're not at the last minute trying to get these done. So really, from application to how soon you can have the money, I don't have a set day, but for somebody that's really got their ducks in a row, 3-4 days, maybe a week. But you should be entirely through this process in 2 weeks. And yeah, frankly, you have to be from the requirements of the program.
That's great to hear. Is there anything really important that we missed or haven't talked about?
Oh my goodness. How long do you have, right? As you stressed at the beginning, Jason, and you did a great job of it. We are a member of Dane Buy Local. We are a publicly owned community bank. We're solely based in Dane County. We're heavily vested in servicing our current customers and those customers that we hope to gain. So if you're a non-customer and you need a home, your credit union, your bank either isn't processing PPP loans or frankly isn't responding to you or denied you and you don't know why, we can be a home for you. We can work with you through this process. Please take a look at your numbers, especially if you haven't done a first draw loan, but look at your numbers again if you're thinking about a second draw loan. Somewhat selfishly, I tell people, you may or may, we can't predict the future. You may or may not feel like you need the funds now, but I promise you our tax dollars are all going to help repay, funds that have been advanced later. So get the benefit on the front end, get a good relationship. I'll tell you, Allison is excellent in her customer service, her customer follow-up, taking care of people when they need something. Our full operations staff is excellent in their customer service. I think we can really give people a great experience. I think we can really help them right now when they need it. And like I say, a bank is only as good as its customers, right? And so we want to make sure to take care of them so that we can continue to be an independent community bank here in Dane County for a long, long time.
I think the biggest thing with us being a community bank is just the people. And going back to what Chris said, you can pick up the phone and call us. If you're having troubles even going out to our website and you have a question about the application, you call us. We're going to help you right there in the spot, getting that filled out. If you're interested in accounts with us, we're going to be right there along with you. We're going to help you through the process, and we're going to make it as easy as possible for you. The nice thing about us being a little bit smaller is when it comes to opening up the accounts, my lender's already got pretty much everything I need. So the client doesn't have to double whammy, send things in and have to repeat what they're looking for, and that we can just help them and get back to them in timely manners, and that we're there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, I think the experience I've had just switching from, a larger bank to community-based bank personally, and of course I've talked to so many different Dane Buy Local members and business owners that talk about such a difference. And it boils down to kind of that customer service and that experience for you, because let's face it, all of us have enough strain and stress in different areas on us right now. Our time is important. So having a trusted partner that can save you time, make the experience easier is invaluable. So I appreciate everything you guys are doing at the Bank of Sun Prairie and all of our local lenders and community banks and credit unions too. They do such a great job. So you two, thanks so much for all the information today. Thanks for being a great local bank and a Dane Buy Local member. Again, you can find out a bunch more at bankofsunprairie.com. I'll put that up here visually as well with a graphic. But you guys, thanks so much for your time and telling us all this great information.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.